A reading from the book of Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "If someone has on his skin a scab or pustule or blotch, which appears to be the sore of leprosy, he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of the priests among his descendants. If the man is leprous and unclean, the priest shall declare him unclean by reason of the sore on his head. The one who bears the sore of leprosy shall keep his garments rent and his head bare, and shall muffle his beard. He shall cry out, 'Unclean, unclean.' As long as the sore is on him, he shall declare himself unclean, since he is in fact unclean. He shall dwell apart, making his abode outside the camp." The word of the Lord. These two women were young. They were first-time mothers. They were probably about 18 or 19 years old. They had married about a year before and had just given birth within the last 6 months or so. And both of them were full of life and full of love for their children. They had married into some money, and they seemed, from all outsiders' perspective, very well-to-do for young Kenyan women. But both of these women had a dark secret, something they couldn't even tell their husbands. Both of them had contracted HIV from their husbands. HIV is a stigma in sub-Saharan Africa. If their husbands, the men who gave them the disease, found out that their wives had HIV, immediately the husbands would divorce their wives, ostracize them. The women would have nothing. So they lived in fear and trepidation, thinking that if my husband finds out about my medicine, if my husband finds out about my disease, I will have nothing. It is repugnant to think that in this day and age, in all the advances that we've made in medicine, especially in HIV, where HIV can be managed over a long period of time, that someone would have to hide that someone would have to keep that a secret, that if it came out, they'd be cast off. In a way, especially women of Africa, if they have HIV, they're modern-day lepers. In light of that, and in light of this reading, it seems somewhat disgusting and odious, this reading. The fact that we would cast away those who can't help a disease in which they've contracted. But I think that this reading has a lot more to say than to cast away those people who are not wanted. There are some of us in this community who are dealing with some pretty serious physical diseases and ailments. And there's one particular who's recovering from a pretty petulant hemorrhoid. But, brothers, we are all lepers. We are all unclean. We are all emotionally and spiritually struggling. Each one of us is covered with the boils of pride, with the lesions of envy, with the scabs of lust. And in a special way, we are called to be with each other. We are in a special way called by God to bring that to each other's attention. The Hebrews were called by Moses to bring forth those who are unclean, and we, through our religious profession, are called forth to make sure that we are all unclean, that we are all clean, to call out the uncleanliness amongst us. It's a beautiful thing. It can be done both actively and passively. Our life sets it up so that all of the things that we do in our common prayer, our common recreation, our common meals, allow us to grow and to bring out all of those things that we're struggling with and to be supported. At the same time, it can be done in an active way. Each one of us has our own struggles, and each one of us should call those people out who have struggles. I myself struggle with a bit of verbosity, and I rarely hide an opinion, or even shadow it for that matter, and sometimes that gets me into trouble. But where would I be if one of you didn't call me out? Where would you be if one of us didn't challenge you from time to time? We are all lepers. Now, I'm not trying to have a group therapy session here like one of our brothers was trying to promote last weekend, nor am I trying to let all of my grievances get aired out there. But what I am saying, brothers, is that we need to recognize those lesions, those boils, those scabs on our own soul, and bring them into the community. There's a great story from the Desert Fathers in which the monastery, if you want to call it that, is convening a meeting to look at one of the brothers who has gravely sinned. And they're going to figure out, what are we going to do with this brother? And they go and get the wisest and the oldest brother, Abba Moses. And the two youngest men in the whole monastery go out to get Abba Moses in his little hermitage, and they knock on the rock and they ask him if he would like to join them. And he is somewhat reticent, but eventually he agrees. And the two young men are shocked when this old, frail man, who has been a hermit for most of his life, is carrying this enormous bag of sand on his back with a hole cut in the back. And these confused young men look at him and go, Abba Moses, what are you doing? And he says to them, like the sand falling out of this bag are my sins as I go to judge another person. We have a choice. We can allow our brokenness, we can allow our own leprosy to remain with us and to build us up, or we can ignore it and hopefully let it pass away. We can live in fear of our own frailties, of our own problems, like those poor women in Africa. Or we can bring out our uncleanness. We can bring out our struggles. We can bring them to the community and to the mercy and love of Jesus Christ.